Since it's been a while since I've updated the Iceberg videos, I wanted to get back to it and continue on with the anime Iceberg, starting with, I believe this is tier 5 that we're on right now. This tier has a lot of, I guess, infamous anime in a way, where it's a lot of shows that are really bad, a lot of cult classic stuff on here. We're really starting to get into some of the fun stuff now with some of these shows and entries. So without further ado, we'll just get right into it. Before we get started, thank you guys again for watching. A man known as the Medicine Seller travels across feudal Japan in search of demons to defeat called Mononoke. However, he can't simply defeat these beasts, he has to learn and understand what they are before he can wield his sword to slay them. A doctor by the name of Kenzo Tenma is set to perform life-saving surgery when the director of the hospital comes in and instructs him to instead perform surgery on a famous celebrity. While he does gain social status for this, the patient he was originally going to operate on dies. This leaves Tenma feeling immense guilt and it keeps him up at night. That's why when the same thing happens, instead of the director telling him to perform surgery on the mayor, he instead performs it on a young boy. However, this decision ends up being one that he will later regret. Mushi are beings in this world that can exist as almost everything. Plants, disease, and everything in between. Jink hopes to study these Mushi and discover their reason for being. After an idol leaves her group in order to pursue a singing career, she's hopeful that her fans will understand and support her. This, however, is not the case. Her life begins to go downhill, with her career growing ever harder, a stalker upset that she left the group in the first place, and said idol group doing marginally better than when she was a part of them. This all amounts to a steady decline in her mental well-being. Saya Kisaragi lives quite the double life, one being where she's an ordinary schoolgirl, and the other being where she slays monsters. While she only hopes to defend her village, a broken covenant begins to threaten the world around her. A doujin anime is an anime based on a doujinshi, which is a manga that's self-published. Sometimes they are original works, or sometimes they are based off of already existing IPs. When it comes to pre-established names, Toho has quite a few OVAs that are based on doujins. As for original, perhaps the well-known doujin anime is Afro Samurai, which was one that we talked about earlier in this list. Despite sounding like an awful build-up to a bad pickup line, Creamy Mami follows a young girl who's given the ability to use magic for a year. You has to balance regular life, as well as using this new identity as Creamy Mami to fight off aliens. To let them off the hook, this came out in the 80s. I don't think they anticipated the phrase Creamy Mami to be as weird as it is today. An anime with over 100 episodes. Candy Candy follows Candy, who is adopted by the Lain family. Now, although her new siblings aren't exactly ideal, she meets somebody who reminds her of someone very important to her from her childhood. Another idol anime, Aikatsu follows Aoi Kiria and her friend Ichigo as they try to get into one of the most prestigious schools to follow in the footsteps of one of the most famous idols in the world. I have no idea why Speed Racer is so low. It's extremely recognizable, and if not by title, then the Mach 5 absolutely is. For those of you who don't know, Speed Racer follows Go Mifune and the car that his father built, the Mach 5, as well as Go's attempts to break into the world of professional car racing. Another popular anime from the early 2000s, Black Lagoon follows Rokuro Okujima, who's a normal businessman in a normal everyday life. That is until he's wrapped up with a mercenary group that wants to use him for ransom. When that plan falls through, he decides to join Black Lagoon and gets adjusted to this new, much more exciting life. Released back in 2003, Kino's journey is exactly that. A 15-year-old travels with a talking motorbike named Hermes, and they take a ride into the unknown. An assassin who has no issue taking human life runs into a bounty hunter by the name of Saya Minatsuki, who's a girl with a very positive outlook on life. Because of her, Train Hartnett decides to leave his life as an assassin behind and instead become a bounty hunter. However, the criminals of his past aren't too excited to let him go just yet. Katanagatari takes place in Edo-era Japan, where many fighting styles, including one where a person can use themselves as a weapon, are practiced. A girl by the name of Togami makes herself known to siblings Shichika and Nanami, requesting that they help her find 12 unique blades for the shogunate. A popular metal band by the name of Detroit Metal City has taken over the musical underground, and people think that the singer himself has risen from hell in order to take over the world. In reality, the singer is a peaceful, soft-spoken college graduate who has a fascination for Swedish pop music. He just holds these brutal heavy metal concerts as a way to make ends meet. I'm inventing a new drinking game for this Iceberg. Every time that an idol anime is mentioned, take a shot. In fact, I want you to stop the video, go back to part 1, watch all the videos up to this point, taking shots for every time I've mentioned an idol anime, and then let me know how drunk you are by the time you get back. In Bang Dream, Kasumi Toyama heard a song when she was young, and made her feel an emotion that she's been wanting to recapture ever since. Now that she's a high schooler, she's created her own band in order to create that same emotion through music of her own. A production studio in Japan tries to balance the talents of 13 idols in order for them to become famous. However, it's far from the ideal life they imagined, constantly having to balance work and having less time for family and friends. It's not your stereotypical idol anime, but it still counts, so. The idol group known as Zwei Wing uses their songs as weapons against aliens, although their powers are generally kept secret from the public. After one of the idols sacrifices themselves to protect the life of a young girl, that same girl receives that idol's sympho gear, and it's up to her and Tsubasa Kazunari to team up and help save humanity. Considering the name, I was almost sure that this would be another idol anime. Pretty Rhythm follows Prism Show, a group of ice performers. Rizumu sets out to become a Prism star like her late mother before her. Released back in 2006, Propika is a movie dealing with the development of the DC Mini, a device that allows people to explore the dreams of others. While benefits are known early on, such as helping treat those with mental ailments, it's soon discovered that this device could also be used as a form of psychological terrorism. Humanity has almost been hunted to extinction by demons and other predatory creatures. Their only purpose is seen as just being food. A golem stumbles across a lost girl and makes it his responsibility to make sure she gets home to her parents. Another show with a beautifully unique art style, the Tatami Galaxy follows Batashi as he comes to realize his last few years of college have been wasted by him just being miserable. He attempts to make up for it by asking out an underclassman. However, when he fails, he begins to regret wasting his time. He is promptly sent back to his time as a freshman and is given a second chance in order to change his life. A famous detective goes missing, leaving behind a wife and a younger brother named Ayumu to discover what happened to him. The only hint is a message talking about something called the Blade Children. When a girl at his school dies, and the finger is pointed at him, Ayumu soon realizes that these Blade Children are behind it. A series of movies, Marduk Scramble follows Rune Ballot, a prostitute who is given the life of luxury when she's picked up by a casino manager. However, when she discovers parts of his past, he attempts to burn her alive. Barely clinging to life, her body is reconstructed, and her confusion turns to revenge on the man who tried to kill her. Two rivals from different families are always at odds, even if their family is seemingly on good terms. However, when Ko falls in love with Aoba's sister, the two begin bringing her into their never-ending rivalry. And what I can only assume was a typo on the iceberg, Mazinger Z follows Koji Kabuto in an attempt to avenge his grandfather, who is killed by Dr. Hell, capable of controlling beasts that unleash attacks whenever he pleases. Koji is armed with the robot Mazinger Z, built with the indestructible Super Alloy Z. Hisone Amakasu enlists in the Japanese Self-Defense Force in order to help find meaning in her life. One day she stumbles upon the organic transformed Flyer, which is a dragon that disguises itself as a fighter jet, and this discovery appoints her as the next pilot. I wish this next one was about idols, because I'm going to need a shot to get through reading it. Botan and Shinobu are two best friends who enroll at an all-girls school. The two girls wish to have a tea party, and then an angel named Un pops out of nowhere, and says that the only way they can do so is if they eat her halo. Upon doing so, the girls begin giving birth to mushroom-shaped candy. I wish I could tell you more, but the show's only like 5 minutes long, and it ends with a girl, wetting herself. And the entire thing's on YouTube as well, so if you want to go watch that, you can go right ahead. Trying to forget about that fever dream, Minky Momo, with no relation to Ducky Momo, follows Momo as she lives in a land of dreams. She is sent to Earth in order to help make dreams come true, and to help humans regain faith in chasing their dreams. In olden times, it was written that a water demon would be slain, avoiding a drought that would become the Shin Yogo Empire. Now at the brink of famine, a water demon manifests itself inside the body of the Emperor's son, Chagam. The Emperor then decides to sacrifice his son for the betterment of the kingdom. Meanwhile, a mercenary named Balsa arrives in town and saves Chagam, whose mother tasks her with protecting her son. Haibane is a being with angelic features who one day wakes up in somewhere she doesn't know. She finds herself in a village that she is unable to leave, but gets used to living there. It isn't until mysterious disappearances begin piling up that she's forced to search for the cause. Oz Vesalius thinks that the Abyss is nothing more than a tale that helps prevent kids from misbehaving. One day, however, he's banished into the Abyss by the Baskerville clan and now has to survive within its depths. While attempting a camp in outer space, our main group is randomly sent to an unknown area of the universe. They're able to find an old ship, but they discover that they're thousands of light years away from home, and they're going to have to ration their supplies until they can navigate the emptiness of outer space. Pacifica Kasul is set to be executed, as an ancient prophecy said that she would bring upon the destruction of the world on her 16th birthday. She's rescued by a passing family, but when word of her survival hits the kingdom, she is then marked to be hunted at all costs. Available in the city of Lux is a substance called Technolyze, which allows people to replace their body parts with cybernetic enhancements. These people all reside within gangs that have managed to coexist. That is, until somebody begins committing crimes that pit all of the gangs in this city against one another. After Kei Karuno and Masaru Kato lose their lives in a train accident, they become entrenched in a game after death where they, along with several other people who have recently passed away, are forced to hunt down aliens in an attempt to gather points and possibly survive. Honora Scholar is a bounty hunter who is set to hunt down Fushel, a dangerous criminal leading a planet of crooks. It's a 30-minute OVA available on YouTube that some people can only describe as watching a train wreck unfold on screen. The animation choppy, and the main character Nora is extremely overpowered, making the show have little to no stakes at all. I'm not even getting into the cave dancing scene either, and if you want to watch something that's so awful that it's incredible, I'm going to leave a link in the description. Kasuga Takao is an ordinary boy who enjoys reading, but leaves his favorite book in the classroom one day. When he grabs it, he notices the girl he likes has left her uniform in the classroom as well, and on impulse, he steals it. The class knows that somebody has taken it, but they're unsure of who, except for one girl by the name of Nakamura, who instead of revealing it was him, decides to use that knowledge to her benefit. The show was widely criticized in 2013 for an ugly art style and badly written characters, but nowadays it seems it has a bit of a cult following. Lain Iwakura is a girl who knows very little about technology. However, when a girl who had taken her own life sends an email to her class, she gets pulled into the world of the Wired. The Wired is what we know as the internet today. From there, her growing knowledge of the Wired begins to blur the lines of technology and reality. I made a video on this if you want a deeper dive into the story, and just how much was able to be predicted from this show from the 90s. In 2075, Ai Tanabe joins the Technora Corporation's debris section, responsible for removing space debris that could be harmful to the moon or planet Earth. Though Ai wants to set her sights on the stars, she comes to realize that the debris section is kind of the laughingstock of the company. After reading some of the reviews, people have nothing but good things to say about this show. They're even saying that planets shouldn't be so overlooked, even if the show might just come off as being about space garbage men. Koko Hekmatiar is an arms dealer smuggling weapons under the organization known as HCLI, supplying to countries while trying to dodge authorities who want to take her down in the process. Promare follows the story of the Burning Rescue, a team of firefighters that must fight monsters called Burnish, who are responsible for destroying a large portion of humanity's population. In the year 2074, Duralians are an alien species that are set to destroy Earth. Ken Izumi, with the power to draw energy from nearby light sources, disguises himself as Chargeman in order to protect humanity. The Altamira Agency is tasked with getting rid of an alien threat that has appeared in Japan. Otsuya Funagai is set to lead his company into battle, but his relationship with one of the pilots could get in the way. This is another show that's said to be really bad. I've been using my anime list to get the summaries, and this had a pitifully low score of 1.84. For reference, even Twinkle Nora Heaven had 3.04, and the Candy Birthing show had 3.38. So that means that, as awful as those shows were, Skelter Heaven is even worse. Skelter Heaven also has the distinction of being the lowest rated show on all of my anime list. It comes in ranked at 12,210. That isn't including all the shows that don't have ranks, but clocking in at 19 minutes, Skelter Heaven will likely be the worst anime you will ever watch. The mysterious little slugger is feared around Musashino's city, rolling around on rollerblades and attacking innocent bystanders with a baseball bat. Detectives work to discover the identity of this assailant, but the more time that passes, more and more people become paranoid that they will be the next victim. Paranoia Agent is constantly praised, even receiving some perfect scores from certain websites. However, it was briefly banned in the United States for touching on themes of suicide, but eventually a censored version was able to be released. White Album follows the difficulties of Toya Fujii, an ordinary college student, and his girlfriend Yuki Morikawa, who's an up-and-coming idol. It details the struggles of an ordinary person dating somebody famous, and how the pressures of fame can be a heavy burden, not just for the idol, but for the everyday person as well. Widely praised for the adrenaline it can make a viewer feel, Redline follows the story of a race of the same name, a competition where no rules are in place, and this year's Redline is held on a planet notorious for an oppressive military and bloodthirsty criminals. JP isn't turned away by the threat of danger, and only has his sights set on victory. Kingdom's story takes place in the Warring States era of China, and follows Shin as he hopes to reunify the country for the first time in 500 years. As a bonus, this show also has the world record for the most people working on a manga. A campaign had everyone from fans to artists submitting work, and the top 100 panels would be included, and each of those 100 participants would be given a special edition of the manga. Among those included were Ichiro Oda of One Piece, Masashi Kimimoto of Naruto, and Hirohiko Araki from JoJo. The Shokujinki are a species of monsters that have hidden amongst humans for centuries, and they are secretly able to become horrible beasts that consume humans for food. Toshihiko is the son of the leader of the force that helps defeat these monsters, and he's smitten by a woman he meets named Yuka Kamitsuki, and neither of them are aware that Yuka is a monster, and Toshihiko must take her life. Thousands of years in the future, monsters roam the land while humans must live hidden away. One day, a vampire lord by the name of Count Magnus Lee takes a young girl to be his bride, and it's up to the mysterious stranger only known as D, one of the world's most deadly vampire hunters, to slay the Count's forces and put an end to his reign. Christopher Chiaki is a pretty ordinary guy. He's failed his college exams and is looking forward to his high school reunion. However, he's suddenly transported into another world, where he becomes Garzey's wing, a legendary hero. He must help the Mitomi's tribe escape slavery, only he has no idea on how to do so. Garzey's Wing is yet another show that can be filed under the so bad it's good category. Some of the reviews claim that it's the anime equivalent of Tommy Wiseau's The Room, and the dub will make you question if the voice actors ever interacted with another human in their life. Two siblings, abandoned by their abusive parents, are infected with the Pupa virus, giving Yuma, the younger sister, the insatiable appetite for human flesh, and the older brother, Utsutsu, the ability to regenerate his body parts. Utsutsu was willing to do anything to help cure his sister, and even feed her in the meantime. I remember the preview of the show coming out in late 2013, early 2014, and thinking that it was going to be like the next Higurashi or the next Shiki. Instead, each episode was about 5 minutes. That's not counting the 30 seconds of intro and 30 seconds of an outro. The animation was ugly, the storytelling was atrocious, and the only good thing that came out of it was the opening song. With several adaptations over the years, the first Captain Tsubasa was released back in 1986, following the story of an 11-year-old Tsubasa Uzura who strives to be the greatest soccer player his elementary abilities would allow him to be. He dreams of leading Japan to the FIFA World Cup one day, but he has a long road ahead before he has the opportunity. As some of the reviews of Green Green go, it's your generic ecchi harem anime, and apparently one of the more raunchy ones as far as the mainstream goes, with not much substance to back it up. Green Green follows the story of how an all-boys school and an all-girls school will merge in order to become co-ed. Of course, the perverted boys are excited to have this opportunity to talk to women, but they have to make sure not to ruin their chances before they've been given a fair shot. Focusing on rivals Reinhard von Musel and Yang Wen Li, the two take command of the Galactic Empire and the Free Planets Alliance. Their colliding ideologies will result in the end of a 150-year ceasefire, as well as the growing number of casualties. Legends of Galactic Heroes is what many would call a criminally underrated show, ranking 8th in terms of overall score, and yet nearly 700th in terms of popularity. Those who watch it clearly have only good things to say about it. Kimihiro Watanuki has a curse that allows him to see spirits that nobody else can see. One day he enters a shop where the mysterious Yuko Ichara makes him a deal. She can rid him of this plague, but only if he helps grant wishes for those who come into her store. As told in legend, 3 races exist on the planet, including humans, demons known as Makai, and half-man, half-beasts known as Jujinkai. A powerful beast known as Chojin arises every few millennia to bring balance to the trio of species. In modern Japan, it is believed that this demon resides in the body of a slacker named Tetsuo, but some believe that it isn't the demon meant to bring peace, but destroy the world entirely. Yet another criminally insulted anime. It's criticized for one-dimensional characters and having just enough story to not be considered hentai, but not enough substance to be worth your time. Based in a society where performance directly influences your income, Honda is a professional baseball player who's been a star pitcher for the Spiders. He has to outperform his teammates in order to make sure he remains the highest paid player on his team. After the destruction of a satellite on a mission to Mars burns up in the atmosphere, creatures called Ancients begin showing up in Tokyo, and they can't be defeated by conventional weapons. A weapon known as the Mars suit is developed, but it can only be worn by those with specific DNA. Enter Takeru Hinata, who is forced to don the suit in order to protect the Earth from these invaders. From the company that brought you Skelter Heaven brings you Mars of Destruction, which is somehow better than Skelter Heaven, but not by much. The folks over at Idea Factory somehow managed to create two of the worst animes of all time within months of each other. Bad characters, bad story, bad writing, bad everything. They somehow managed to create two comedies out of what should be heavy topics within a year of each other. God bless. After Pandy and Retro are sent to the lunar prison known as Dead Leaves, it's discovered that the facility is being used for cloning, and is being run by guards protecting horrific experiments gone wrong. The only option they have is to break out of prison alongside their fellow prisoners. After moving in with a handful of students from his university, track star Kakeru Karuhara discovers that he's living amongst the school's track team. He wants to convince them to participate in the Hakone Ikaiden, a prestigious marathon in Japan. However, none of the students seem interested and are hardly anything more than beginners. He only has months to transform this team of unmotivated rookies into a team worthy of competition. After Professor Tenma loses his son in a car accident, he creates a robot named Adam in his son's image. Disappointed that this robot will not grow as a normal human would, he sells him to the circus, where he meets Professor Ochani Mizu, who trains him to fight against evil. Astro Boy is an incredibly influential and important anime because it's the reason anime is popular at all. It was the first anime to be given a regular screen time each week, and it was the first anime to be shown in America in 1963. While Cowboy Bebop is usually pointed to as being the reason anime is popular in the West, it might not have happened if not for Astro Boy way back in the 60s. Space Brothers in English, Uchu Kodai follows the brothers who grew up wanting to become astronauts. However, life doesn't always work out as you would like, and Muta is working at an automotive plant, while his brother Hibito is set to walk on the moon. However, luck strikes Muta, and he's fired from the automotive plant only for the company his brother works for to accept his application to become an astronaut. This allows the brothers the opportunity to chase the dreams that they had decades before. With humanity brought to its knees thousands of years ago, humans are served by auto-reeves, robots who assist them in everyday activity. However, they begin to gain self-awareness, leading to the remainder of humanity to be pushed to the brink of extinction. In the town of Suiten, the border between the ordinary world and the spiritual world has been breached. Strange visions, spirits roaming the mountains, and nightmares all draw back to Taoru Komori. He was kidnapped over a decade before this, and the memories he has stilled away might hold the key to finding out what caused this. An ancient spirit from Atlantis, the Golden Bat is sent forward thousands of years in order to fight the villains of the present day. The summary is super short, nobody's really talking about it, and it doesn't seem like it has any weird stories behind it. It's just some obscure anime from the 1960s. And for the last entry on this tier, Juni Kokui, or at least that's what I think the Iceberg was trying to get at, follows a girl by the name of Yoko Nakajima. She's a bit of a pushover, doing whatever people ask of her. One day, a man bows to her, calling her his master, and saying that she belongs on the throne. When beasts called Yoma attack, Yoko, the blonde man named Keikai, and two of her classmates are transported to an alternate world. But they're separated from Keikai. Now they'll have to fend for themselves, or they'll risk falling victim to these monsters. And with that, we've reached the end of Tier 5. As I mentioned earlier, it seems like this tier really focused on some historically bad shows, such as Skelter Heaven or Nar Arakme. But things are only going to start getting weirder from here on. I looked ahead to some of the upcoming anime on the later tiers, and things start to get a little strange, so to speak. Thank you guys for making it this far, and make sure to follow me on Twitter, which I'll leave the link for in the description below. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.